everybody. Let's get it.
Hi everyone, I wanted to first give you a warning, I guess. I don't know if I mentioned in anywhere or any form that what the topic of this video was going to cover. Obviously my work that I've done, the workouts that I've done, and talk about those, but also the side topic that has changed. That was going to be the origin of my channel name because I have a little story behind that, but I'm going to be putting that off until next week because my Labrador, who was 11 and I think about 3 months, was put down this morning because it's hit pain and everything just got to be to an extreme level and he just couldn't deal with that anymore. So I woke up to text of that news this morning, and so I was dealing with the stress of that and the emotions related to that sort of thing. And throughout the morning, because I woke up about 7 and I didn't go work out till about I think 11ish, but so basically for that time that I was awake, I was basically bottling up everything and holding it all in for one of two reasons. And I guess the one reason is kind of the macho man sort of thing that's ingrained to kind of not show emotion. But I think it's less of that, because I've always heard of that sort of stereotype, but it's been something I don't really identify with as much. What related to me more is the fact that I have a roommate now, so I don't want to show emotion when I'm around him or show that I'm upset. And it's not that macho man mindset, it's more of I don't like being upset around other people because they tend to also be upset, or they tend to give you sympathy or attention and stuff like that. And I'm kind of the opposite when I deal with that sort of thing. I just want to be alone and deal with all that stuff without other people intervening in any sort of way, even if it's well-intentioned. And I have no doubt that, my roommate or whoever I would talk to, we're very well-intentioned and, have nice things to say and be helpful in that regard. But how I deal with that sort of thing is just seclusion, and that's essentially what I did. So I guess I held it all in, which sounds really unhealthy, but I had a plan on releasing it later. So it wasn't as if I was trying to just put it into my subconscious and just worry about that current moment where I could feel good for a little bit before it manifests itself by itself later. I had a plan on how to do that, and I think that's important for a lot of people dealing with a traumatic situation or really the stress in general, is that you yourself can choose when you manifest those emotions and that stress. And it was difficult to do to hold it in today, but it's still possible, and it's something I think is very beneficial to the secondary effect is beneficial to training. I don't think it had too big of an impact. I can't go in and be really upset and lift a lot better than I would if I just got normally excited and anticipatory for my various lifts. I don't think there's a big difference in that regard. Perhaps there is a little difference, but I don't think there is any sort of huge difference, at least for me. For some people, there very well maybe. But the biggest difference, or the biggest benefit that I have found with holding the stress in and then releasing it there, is that I generally feel a lot better when I fully exert myself and I let all the emotions out while I'm lifting and that sort of thing. And I think sometimes I do let emotions get to me, and it allows me to become more intense while I'm lifting. So I guess I do kind of lift in a watered down mindset that I had today, but today was a pretty intense mindset as far as emotions go. Generally I just get really intense and angry. I guess less angry, just really excited to do a lift. That's generally how I lift, and I don't have too much of an issue getting too pumped up before a big lift, even if I'm a little nervous or whatnot. But today it was less about the lift and the stuff that I did, and it was more about just getting those emotions out. And once I did, because I had 3 heavy singles for deadlifts between 90 and 95%, and you'll be seeing those videos. It went from 535, 545 to 565. At my top set, I wanted to do a double, but once I did the 1 rep and I came down, I just didn't feel like doing another one. I either lost the tension in my back, or my grip didn't feel good, or a combination of everything. At that point, I wasn't really thinking too much. I wanted to do 2 total repetitions. So once I set the weight down after doing the first rep with hook grip, I went and picked up my straps and then went and set up and did another one. So I don't know if you consider that to be a double or 2 separate singles. It's somewhere, I think, in that murky area in between. I'd rather just call it 2 singles because it's closer to that, I think, than a true double. I think that if I would have used straps for the first rep, I would have been able to do 2 reps potentially, but I wanted to work on my hook grip, and I wanted to see how that felt at a pretty high percentage of my 1 rep max. And because I've had the wrist thing that I've been dealing with, and the thumb little bit injury, nothing serious, just I wanted to make sure that everything has felt good with the hook grip, especially also on, I was using an Ohio Rogue power bar. I may be saying that wrong, but it was an Ohio power bar, I think. It was a stiff bar, and so I was using that for the lifts as well, so I wanted to make sure that my grip felt fine on that sort of thing, and it felt generally fine. I didn't have really any issues with it. I just can't really do doubles at above 95% of my 1 rep max with my hook grip. I'm not really to that level yet with my grip, and I perhaps will never be, because the hook grip hurts a lot, and it's very hard to keep the tension for more than 1 lift. But anywho, so once I did that, I had a couple other things planned, and I decided to push those off to tomorrow, just because once I did that lift, I was just mentally done. I had came and did what my main goal was, and that was the 565 for 2 total repetitions, and then I left, and I was there around an hour, and I said hi to one person as a response when I first walked in, and I put my headphones in. I didn't talk to anyone while I was there, so I probably looked like a crazy psychopath while I was lifting, but it was necessary for me to just have my music blaring and to just focus on what I wanted to do and not have to worry about talking to other people and say, this is why I'm upset, and kind of that same thing that I mentioned before, kind of just holding in my emotions and then trying to manifest them into the weights, into a healthy way, I think, and then instead of trying to talk it out with other people, because for me it doesn't benefit me as much. But after I had done those lifts, I was still kind of stressed, and I decided I didn't want to continue lifting that day. I had already mentally decided that I was pushing everything off to the next day. So I decided to drive to my hometown. There's a park with trails, and I went and jogged, and it's a completely random thing. I very, very, very rarely ever choose to jog anywhere for any length of time because it's very boring, and I just generally don't enjoy it. But today I decided, because of different things I've read with research about how cardiovascular exercise can help with managing stress in that regard, and also I just wanted to go and run some trails. It was just that every once in a while I get the urge to go and jog, and I'm no cross-country runner or anything to that regard. I ran about 2 miles in 24 minutes, and it's a trail, so it was hilly, so of course it's not going to be a true 2-mile test, but I was also not I wasn't worried about trying to run really fast, and I had just done deadlifts beforehand as well, so obviously that would play a factor. Plus I don't ever run, so obviously I'm not going to be very developed cardiovascularly, and I could honestly care less. As long as I have enough to be healthy, I'm not worried about running marathons and running 5Ks or 2Ks or all of that stuff. I'm just worried about losing a little bit of weight, just cutting down, not really, because I'm fat. As you can tell, I'm not really that fat, but I was just more just general health. But because of the way that of running and how much I sweat, I don't even know how you say that, how much I sweated while I was running, I'm actually down to 188, at least when I weighed myself before I just took a shower. I'm down to 188, so I've met my goal. I wanted to do it by the beginning of the month. It's the 2nd, so kind of met my goal, but I'm down to 188, so hopefully I continue to cut down weight. The only hitch that I will experience is not next week, but the week after that Tuesday, which I think is the 13th, is when I'm having my procedure done. So I'll be out of commission for the rest of that week. Most likely I may lift at the end of the week at some point, and I may go in and do some accessory work depending on how I feel. But my plan is to kind of take it easy for the rest of that week, and then come and hit it hard on Monday. But during that time, while I'm out of commission, I mentioned I might come in and do some accessory work, but I also may do some cardio stuff or walk or do something so I can hopefully continually to lose a little weight. So I'll have that to kind of work towards, and I'll have to adapt the competition prep that I'm doing with Shaco to account for that, because I think it's 5 weeks long, and it will end up being I'll have 4, I think, total weeks, and maybe 4 weeks and an extra day before I have to do my maximal lifts, and so I need to get to that point by August. So I'll have to cut out some stuff and adapt it for my needs. But I think 4 weeks and a day, or 4 weeks itself, is more than sufficient for my needs. But back to kind of my workout in general this week. I had 3 workouts I had technically 4 workouts, 3 heavier workouts. On Monday I worked to AMRAPs on the 3 big lifts, the squat, bench, and deadlift. And I did deadlifts first, just because it was open when I was there, so I wanted to get it done. And if you follow my channel at all, you see it was the 445 for 16 reps, and that was I believe 75% of my warm-up max with that. And then I moved on to bench, and I used 225, which I think is about 80%, and I was able to get that for 11 reps, which I think matches a lifetime PR, or is 1 less. I'm not sure if I've done 12 before or if I've done 11 before, but it's right around there, so it isn't anything drastic different as far as the bench goes. And then squats I did last, and I did 325 for 12 reps, and I felt like I was going to pass out afterwards. But then the next day I drove up to Mount Union, my alma mater, to do a little workout. I did like rows and glute ham raises, like little accessory things, and then I did some jumping just to see where I am at this point. At that point I was about 190 pounds that morning, so I just wanted to see how my jumping ability was affected, being a little bit heavier since the last time I deadlifted, or last time I jumped was before my meet, or right after, when I was around 185 or below that point, and I jumped very successfully at that time. So I mean, obviously once I moved away, there's not really hoops that are an easy access to me. I suppose there's some outside, but I do like using the basketball court hoops a lot more, just because they have the breakaway rims, and I like jumping on the basketball court more, and I just don't generally do that as much if it's not available to me. I don't seek jumping and stuff like that out, just because it's pretty strenuous to do, especially when I'm working at higher percentages. I'm not really too concerned about that sort of stuff, because I think my jumping ability and stuff like that will improve as I get stronger anyway. But after that Tuesday workout, I took Wednesday off, I believe, and then if I did anything Wednesday, it wasn't anything lifting wise. It was just I don't know. I don't think I did anything Wednesday. I'll stop talking about that. Didn't do anything. Thursday, I worked it was 90 to 95% of my 1 rep max for bench and squats. So my squats, I ended up doing a new PR of 410 pounds for a double, and that was low bar, obviously. And I was really happy with how those felt. And after watching the video, I was really happy with the speed of them, and I think I have a lot more in the tank as far as those go. Obviously not like 500 pounds, but I think more than at 430 or more than 430. I guess you can all be the decider of that, but I was really happy with how they moved. Potentially, I think for that in the bench, I also did 275 for the bench for 2 pause reps. I think for both of those I had another rep potentially. They would have been ugly for both of them, but I think that potential rep for both of them was there. I don't know that for sure, but I think based on like the speed of how they moved and how they felt, I think I had another one potentially. But because I didn't really have any true spots, and I don't really like failing reps ever, especially on the bench when no one's there, I really didn't want to fail that. I just played it conservatively, because the program called for a single anyway, so doing a double was already extra work anyway, so I didn't want to push it too much and either get hurt or get stuck or have to dump weights if I was on the bench or something like that. So I didn't worry about it. So I didn't. I didn't do anything. Friday, last night, I went out and did some accessory work that I was planning on doing Thursday and pushed off until Friday. It was some glute ham raise, or not glute ham raise, some good mornings, some incline, and then I did some little bit of hip stuff, some inner thigh stuff, groin stuff, just little accessory stuff on Friday, nothing too strenuous, I guess, unless you consider 255 pounds on the good mornings for 5 sets of 5 strenuous and 80 pounds on the incline strenuous, but it wasn't anything that I was trying to push crazily. I was just trying to do quality repetitions and get a little work in, and I really didn't work out that one on Friday. But on Saturday, today, was that big deadlift workout like I talked about at the beginning, so I won't delve into that too much more, but like I mentioned how I didn't do the extra stuff, or I guess the main stuff that I was planning on doing on this day. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow at some point. I'm not exactly sure when, not that any of you really particularly care when I lift, but I'll be helping my dad do some stuff in the morning at some of the houses that he owns as rentals, and then I'll probably be going sometime in the evening. So I'll have a little bit of a pretty short turnaround in that regard, but I think I should be fine. I have deadlift to the knees, and I also have front squats that I added in, as well as bench, and I potentially some accessory, perhaps some cardio, just so I can not look so morbidly obese. But I have that to do yet tomorrow, and I'm not really too concerned about that. I should be able to hit everything, and if you're watching this video now, you should probably be seeing some of those the reps and work that I did, because when I post this video, it'll be on Monday, so I'll be able to slap all those clips in. I just obviously can't talk about them too much because I haven't done them yet, although I don't envision myself having any issues with the weights that I'm working with. I think front squats is like 245, and then deadlift to the knees is up to 505, but it's just to the knee, so it's not really too big of a deal. So I have that all to deal with, but hopefully you all somewhat enjoyed this video, or at least thought it was somewhat informative, particularly at the beginning when I was talking about how you deal with stress. But if any of you kind of do a similar thing where you take general stress in your life, and also kind of the more extreme versions or the non-typical levels of stress that you deal with in different things, whether it's a pet, being put down, or a family member dying, or whatever you happen to be dealing with, and if you use exercise or fitness or lift, whatever you do as a coping mechanism, I suppose, please let me know. I'm actually kind of curious if you all use that, or how in particular you use that, because I had because my particular method was just not talking to anyone, putting my headphones in, turning my music up. I listened to the same 2 songs the entire time I was lifting today, and even while I was running, I listened to the same 2 songs, and I just went in and just let all my emotions go out on the bar. But not everyone probably does it exactly like that if they try to use lifting or exercise as a stress reliever. So I'm curious, because I figure at least a couple of you probably do a similar thing with the stuff you experienced in your life. But anywho, I won't ramble on for too much more. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. You are a true trooper for sticking through for this long. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.